The First Million Words, Episode 19, Mysteries, with Aliette de Bodard.
I get distracted easily. Sorry.
Well, this time then, let's move on to writing mystery, and just to kind of to let people know what they're getting into at the beginning. Guillermo, do you have any opening thoughts?
Opening thoughts for
The process of writing mystery.
process of writing mystery. I've never written a mystery. The first book's kind of a mystery, but I'm more of a reader because Dresden Files and whatnot. But I've never written it, so I'm just like I've read it, but I can't write anything for my life that you can't figure out in the first 3 chapters. But yeah, that's something that's completely beyond anything I could do, which is why I like I like mystery so much. It's because I usually can't figure it out until the very end. But yeah, that was another thing, another positive for the book. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was not predictable.
Nice. In Servant of the Underworld.
Yeah, Servant of the Underworld. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what was going to happen or where it was going, or where where ultimately it would lead us. But when I try to write something like that, you're like, the first 3 words, you're like, the butler did it. And I'm like, wait, but how'd you know? There's like 4 chapters.
Am I that transparent?
Yeah, no. But it's fun.
I actually wonder how, do you, when you start writing like a mystery or a detective story, do you start off, I assume you start off at the end?
I like, if like the mystery's a question and like I want the answer, I usually find out what the question is first.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what are they actually trying to solve? The Servant of the Underworld started with like, okay, someone's like killed or kidnapped that priestess, like who and why.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, usually it gets to the end pretty fast because like, I basically need to know what's really going on.
Yeah.
Like my characters can flail around like not knowing and making wrong hypotheses and like basically making a mess of things. But I need to know like whoever did it, what they're doing in the meantime. Because they're obviously not sitting idle and waiting to be caught.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then, but you have an ending in mind though, as you're writing it.
I knew like who had done it and why. I had the ending that it was a very like sketchy thing, and I'm like I don't really want to spoil it, but like somehow they solved the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that literally was what was in my notes, but like chapters 23 to 21 to 25, I think, or something. It was like, okay, somehow they worked it out.
So it's kind of a mystery to you, too.
The mystery part of it stops when they figure out who and why and they confront him.
Yeah.
Then they have to deal with the fallout, and I thought, I don't need to be that detailed because I don't really know what kind of fallout there's going to be yet.
And now when you were writing, I noticed you wrote something, or you posted something, I believe it was on Twitter, where you said you were kind of writing a book, you were writing scenes at the beginning and at the end, and then kind of meeting in the middle?
I outline that way, but I write chronologically, though, but yeah, outlines tend to go like meeting in the middle.
Okay, do you find that helps when you have that big mystery looming in the distance, is to kind of figure it out from the end to the middle and from the beginning to the middle, and then start writing?
I had a really different process for all of the 3 books, so I don't really know. With Servant of the Underworld, what happened was I would like write cool scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I had at one point they find so and so has died, and it turns out that they have a vital clue. And so I didn't exactly have a beginning to end. Like I had like very clear beginning and sort of like fuzzy end, but I knew where I was going, and then those sort of little goalposts in the middle. And so what happened was like I played around with them a little, and at some point I sort of thought, okay, I more or less have them in the order I want. So now I started like writing the outline and like filling in the holes between goalposts as I was doing that. So I was like, okay, I know what's going on up to the part where they search the temple. So like, how do they get from the temple to say the islands?
Yeah, yeah. And how? Now we were talking earlier about how when you have the novel, you can have a more complex mystery, and you can have the red herrings. How important are the red herrings? And do you think there's like a limit to how many you should have to keep confusion down, or do you think it's a good thing to just kind of mislead people in all different directions?
I think there's gotta be like enough of them that there's gonna be like at least one. So my main character forms a completely wrong hypothesis, and like keeps updating that. Well, it's not one; it's like more than one. But like, and he keeps updating that hypothesis with the newest facts, and he still gets it wrong. So like through the entire book, the sort of process of like they're never quite sure what they're getting into, even though they have a feeling that they're solving it as they go. And then that's from my character's point of view. However, I also have a reader who's going to be busy playing the game of like solving it. So if I don't actually present enough like scattered opportunities for the reader to think, ooh, that might be significant, someone's going to get bored.
Yeah, yeah. The whole key thing is to keep the reader reading. So yeah, I like that you mentioned getting a wrong hypothesis. I think that is also the big key, or one of the big keys for doing mysteries. You just got to have your main character just get it wrong as often as possible.
Oh yeah, well, Cal spends most of the novel in a state of complete wrongness, and that's mostly as it should be. Yeah. He'd be insufferable otherwise anyway.
Yeah. I mean, how fun is it if you have a detective that just knows everything already? That's that's. Well, I think that's why Sherlock Holmes was written from the perspective of Watson.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Yeah, Sherlock would pretty much know everything. So, I mean, that's kind of boring.
Well, I mean, there is also a different tradition of mystery, which is Chinese mysteries are more like giant chess games. So you know who and you know why and you know how they did it, and it's more a question of like, how is the magistrate going to catch them?
Oh,
and they even have like those chapter titles that actually tell you what's going to happen in the chapter.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh.
So it's coming from a very different perspective.
Yeah.
I have this theory that the mystery really is a sort of mimicking of the science, what people thought was the science process, which sort of like see something and have a hypothesis from what you see, and then finally get at the truth. Which, incidentally, is not really how science really works, because the truth then turns out to be not so stable.
Yeah.
But I think in many ways, the modern mystery novel is really the child of the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and then...
It's totally unproved, but...
Now, the decision here, also, because we're dealing not only with mystery, but with, the historical fiction and fantasy, and you threw in... Well, it didn't just throw in, there's magic in the world. So did you have to kind of come up with, the limitations on how the magic worked so that he couldn't just, cut an earlobe and then, I know who the killer is.
Yeah.
Well, I think, as I based a lot of it on the actual, like, what if the Aztec religion was actually true, I think a lot of the limitations are really built in, like, the entire philosophical bent of the book. And, I mean, in this particular case, magic derives from the gods. So if the gods are not really feeling that you should really know the answer, well, you can look for it for a long time. So in that sense, and I mean, it's also pretty, unless the gods are actually involved, you will notice that most of the spells they cast are like really small ones. The exception being they can call up the dead, but it has to be in fairly constraining circumstances. Because they have to still be within reach, they have to be in the right place, and it's not even a guaranteed thing. So I probably came up with unconscious rules, but I didn't really notice I was writing the story. And I think it's really hard when you're writing a story like this. I mean, either it sounds like, don't get me wrong, role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons,
Uh-huh.
but it can end up sounding like a bad Dungeons and Dragons games. Like, those games really need a system and really need rules that you cannot break to help the game master. But when you're reading a book, it just doesn't work because it's too systematic, and magic doesn't really... It's like, magic feels like fake science or fake engineering, and to my mind it wouldn't work within the medieval setting. So I tried having a sort of like organic set of rules rather than like explicit, they can't do this, they can't do that, because. And like, if you want to cast a spell, you gotta have this much XP.
Yeah. Or it's like you can only cast that spell once per day, and you have to roll the dice. Yeah. Yeah, I think having those limitations, like, really, it adds to how much you're allowed to use the magic to help your character. Because if you just have that all powerful kind of magic, like I said, he could just know who the killer is right away, and then that kind of comes off as the Deus Ex Machina.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
You have to have strictures or something.
Yeah, and is there... Did you factor in... did you have to change anything around in, the story itself, so that you could have that magic in there and not give away the ending so easily like that? Like I know you said you were kind of building the magic like that, but did you have to do any kind of story tweaking as well?
Mostly, I mean, with Servant of the Underworld, the magic and the story were pretty much entwined, so I didn't have a problem.
Okay.
I later, however, had, in the later books, I had stuff that, for instance, I explicitly said was impossible, or stuff that I had actually already explained how it works, sort of. And so I remember at one point, I was like, so, why are they not calling up the ghost of the dead guy again? I mean, according to the set of rules you outline in book 1, this should be perfectly possible. Wait a second. But, I mean, I also think there's, like, something that I didn't realize when I was writing the first novel, which is, it's not because they can do something that they're going to have the time to do it. So if I keep throwing enough stuff at them, it's perfectly plausible that they will, like, okay, they really have to look, for instance, like, where this... whose god this particular spell belongs to. But, yeah, if they're kept busy by other emergencies, they're not gonna have time.
Yeah, exactly. I think it takes time to cast those spells, and yeah, if you got boulders being thrown at your main characters, yeah, they're not gonna stop and be like, hang on a minute, I have to draw this chalk outline on the ground.
It's like, okay, everyone look around and try to find a blue lizard. I kind of need his blood.
All right, so it sounds like just keep that ending in mind when you're doing the mystery, and just kind of unravel it as you go. I think one of the big things we were talking about is have those limitations. So I think if you want a good mystery, you have to limit your characters. Definitely. So Guillermo, any I know we gave you an opening thought. Do you have any final thought?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, it's like the Superman conundrum. It's like, hey, it's this character is he can't be destroyed. He's pretty much unbeatable. And like, then why am I reading about him? Yeah, so I that's kind of like what I was thinking, but I'm not sure how connected it was. I don't know. I'm weird today, but yeah, it's just
today
I can't. Well, within the past 32 years, 5 months, 11 days. I can't count. But yeah, it's just it's writing. I don't know. Writing it's. I've always found that if I'm trying to write some sort of mystery, I've discovered not to, and I've discovered to let professionals do it, because mine are really, really bad.
Yeah, just
really predictable.
Wait till after you have written your first million words, and then start. Yeah.
So basically, the lesson to take home is don't try this at home, kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leave it to the trained experts.
It's like, yeah, come on, stick to comedy, monkey boy. Let the real authors do mystery, because when you try to do it, it's. You ever seen the Star Wars kid? That's what you look like. You're just flailing around with a broomstick and not being very impressive. So yeah, I'm gonna let the professionals do it until I get better.
Do you feel more epic now?
I think that is going to make this episode epic.
I can't hit that low note.
Although, as the main character, you know you're not going to make it past this the show, right?
Oh, I know. Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Am I the main character? Can I be the altruistic like main character that just gets it like, 2/3 into the first book?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, that's we just had our last interview segment with Aliette de Bodard, and it was really good. I hope everybody liked it. It was on mystery.
Speaking of epic,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and Guillermo, I think you might be a little heartbroken because you found out that she is taken, even though you were, I think you were, what's the word? Not really fanboying out, but I don't know. You were a little flirtatious there.
Was I?
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know. I was just fawning over her book. I wasn't.
Oh, yes, right. Her book. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. I don't know. It's like you ever have that thing where you make a troll account on like a dating site, and then by mistake you find the perfect woman, and you're like, oh man, I can't. I'm just like, why must I troll?
No, I don't really do that. But yeah, you are.
Then it's me. Then it's just me.
You're kind of a king troll sometimes.
I was trained by the best.
Oh yeah. Oh, trolling. It's I don't know, trolling. But hey, anyway, speaking of Game of Thrones and like characters dying, actually there was a topic I've been wanting to talk about for the last couple of episodes, and also I think you might need to bring your microphone down just a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah,
just a little bit.
All right,
there, that's better.
Is that better?
Yes.
All right.
But anyway, and there also might be some kind of humming noise in the background because, again, I am recording out in my living room because that's where I have the computer set up right now, is out in the living room. So there's actually air conditioning. So that noise you hear in the background is the refreshing tones of me not sweating my ass off.
It's better that way because if you're comfortable, then you're going to be... Going to be more relaxed. If you're, sweating, then you're just going to be snapping at all of our guests. And
yeah, well, I've noticed.
No one will ever come back.
I was listening to a few of our old episodes, and I'm like, there are some times where I really just feel bedraggled and
is that a word?
All beat down. Yeah, bedraggled is a word. It's in Harry Potter, so it's a word.
Oh, okay.
British people say it all the time.
You're such a muggle.
I am, but I still like butterbeer. But yeah, there are some times where I feel like, am I rushing our guest, or am I like saying stuff just, maybe I'm pissed off because I'm all hot and horrible and sweaty, and so I'm like, yeah, whatever. I think your book sucked and you suck.
Well, I don't think we've had anyone that has actually had a book suck. I
No.
think all of our guests have been like very like just very good. Just like the I don't think we've had any people that I'm like, I read it, but
Speaking of past guests, and I'll get back to that topic I was talking about. I promise I'll get back to it this time. Brian Thomas Schmidt, who was our first guest, he had a book come out just maybe a couple days ago, and it was 102 more hilarious dinosaur jokes for kids. And I downloaded it. I have it. And I'm going to read them to my son when he's older and he knows more about dinosaurs, because him being my son, he is going to know the difference between a velociraptor and a troodon.
Oh. Okay.
Because I was a total dinosaur nerd when I was a kid, so he's going to be too.
Yeah, I was a shark nerd. I don't know.
And he also, sharks are like dinosaurs. They've been around that long. So
maybe I'm more specialized.
Yeah. He also... bless him, he's been running around the house with a blanket behind him. He'll like hold the blanket up to his shoulders and run around the house saying Batman. So he's definitely my son.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess he didn't learn from that time that he kind of ran into the corner of that table and.
Well, that was him playing hide and seek, and he had a really good hiding spot underneath a blanket, and he found out that you could be mobile and still be hiding.
Like, yeah, doing the solid snake thing. Just only instead of a box, it's a blanket, I guess.
Yeah, I think of more of it as him hiding underneath like a bushel of hay, like they did in like Looney Tunes and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but little Beowulf is doing fine.
Oh,
He's
okay.
good,
That's
and Batgirl is also doing well. She's what 2 weeks old now, almost, and it's been kind of chaotic in the Love House, but it's been good. It's been a good chaotic.
oh, okay. I mean, yeah. Well, it's a baby, so it's like, and then not only that, the other one's still pretty young. So yeah,
Yeah, little Beowulf and little
when
Batgirl, they're doing
when
good.
when one goes off, the other one is probably going to go off too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you're going to have it in stereo.
Oh
So,
yeah, but oh man, my son will. The other day we went for a walk just to kind of give the wife and the baby a little space. So we went out, and halfway around the block, he goes, "Oh baby, baby," and he kind of had a little freak out. Like he had to get back and make sure the baby was okay. So I think they're going to do just fine. But then when we got back, he was like jumping on the baby trying to play with her. So
well, he plays with it as long as he doesn't play with the baby the same way he plays with the dog.
Yeah. Oh well, and as long as the baby doesn't bite him in the face.
Well, yeah, because
He has so many scars now.
He'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I mean, scars. Chicks. I don't know. Do chicks still dig scars, or is that like an '80s thing?
I don't know.
Like-
I don't know.
Like chest hair and mustaches.
We'll have to, any women, any ladies that are listening to our show, let us know on Twitter. It's at FMW Podcast. Just let us know if that's true. If you are more attracted to a dude with like a scar on his face or something. Because I got one on my lip, but it's not really visible under the beard. So
yeah, I have several on my face just
Yeah.
from just stupid.
yeah. Most of the scars I have are from stupid stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. You're just like, well, this one time I got hit with a fire hose. What? Yeah,
Yeah.
And you try to think of like cool things. Oh, I was saving a baby from a terrorist.
Oh,
No,
one
they don't believe
time when I was younger, I used to totally do the Calvin and Hobbes thing, where I would wait for my dad to get home from work and I would just jump him, and I would yell, "Dad, don't let me win!" and I would just start wrestling, And once he got a really bad rug burn on his nose, so he had like a big red mark like across his nose, and he was telling people, "Oh yeah, I got it from saving a baby from a burning building," and I was like, "No, it's because we were wrestling," and he he landed on the carpet because I took out his knees.
Well, you see, this terrorist was holding a baby at gunpoint, and the baby was holding a puppy that
The puppy had a little mouse in its arms.
Yeah, and the mouse had like the cure for cancer in a vial in it around its collar, and yeah, I saved him.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our life. But let's get back to that topic because I really wanted to kind of talk about it and hear your thoughts and maybe hear our listeners' thoughts too. You can leave. Not only can you tweet at us at FMW Podcast, but you can leave comments on our show notes. If you go to fmwpodcast.com, it's all there, and you can just leave comments leave a comment on this episode's post and let us know what you think of this topic. But I was listening to another podcast, as I do, called The Shared Desk. It's T. Morris and Philippa Valentine. They write the steampunk books, a series of no, the Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences. I almost said the series of unfortunate events. That's different. But they have their bi-weekly writing podcast, and the topic they had on their most recent episode that I heard was about making the hard decisions of when a character has to die. Of choosing which character has to die and how and are you doing it just for an emotional impact or does it help the story? Because I guess they got a complaint from a few readers about a character dying and they were rather attached to that character. But they did it because it mattered to the story. And they were talking about Harry Potter, as most of us writers do. Just bring up Harry Potter all the time. And T. Morris, the one of the co-hosts, said that he thought that Draco Malfoy was going to get it at the end. He was so ready for Draco Malfoy to die. And I wonder, did you feel the same way?
Um, I don't know. It was just kind of one of those things where I'm like, okay, I kind of want to see him get his comeuppance, but
Yeah.
and then but when it happened, you felt horrible for him. You know,
Yeah,
I'm just
like
like, oh
instead
man,
of
stop messing with my emotions.
yeah, instead of him dying, like his friend dies, and Harry like saves him, and but big spoiler, Draco Malfoy lives to the end.
Yeah, so if you haven't read the books yet,
Yeah,
or if you haven't seen the movies,
yeah, but that got me
sorry.
thinking. Like I do, I had to pause the episode and then talk it out, as if I was on the show, and I was like, there's characters like that they have to live. They have to. They're like the annoying. Not even they're not really antagonists. They're kind of more like foils. They do put some blocks in the way of the main character or of the protagonist, but they're like characters that you love to hate, so they have to stay there. And the other thing I thought of was Ambrose from the King Killer Chronicle, from Name of the
Oh,
Wind and the Wise Man's Fear.
yeah, and you're just like, he's such an amazing douchebag. He has to
Yes.
die, but
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So far, no.
Yeah, and he.
Oh, and spoiler alert. I'm so sorry. I should have said that.
What the? Oh no! Come on. You know, that it's like a character that you hate the guy, and you really want him to fail and to die. But there's something about those characters that it's not that you hate them. It's like that you do love to hate them. And I know that's kind of a cliche phrase, but you really do. And you have to keep those characters in, and you have to keep them succeeding, or else it's like they might as well not be there.
Oh yeah, but at a certain point, you're just kind of like, are they ever going to stop winning? Like, I don't know, like Game of Thrones, where you're just like, it's like the good guys never win. I mean, is that like the? Okay, I see where we're going here.
Yeah, which I still haven't seen the second season. I need to
It's pretty
watch
good.
it.
Like the first season blew me away. Second season, I was like, that's pretty good. But like the third book was the one that was like that was awesome. So I can't wait for the third one to come
Nice.
out.
I haven't read any of the books either because like the series, I read or I watched the TV show, and then I tried to read the Game of Thrones book, and I got like 60 pages into it, and I was like, there's kind of a lot of exposition here. Like I don't really need to know, what this house did in the past, but you kind of do, and
It's important.
yeah, yeah, and I just I don't know. It's like an older generation kind of book, where they did stuff like that. But
Well, yeah, kind of like Tolkien, where it's like the first half of the book is like, okay, I know enough of the history. When is something going to happen?
yeah, yeah. But
Just
you still read it though. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Because it's important.
yeah, but back to I think you had did you have any examples of like annoying bad guy characters that should live until the end because it makes the book more interesting? I think you
Well,
had one.
I had it's kind of like, well, it was Magneto, but that's comic books, so it's different.
Oh, that
But- and he-
counts.
and he-
That counts.
but he wasn't really annoying. Like in fact, I mean, yeah, he was just kind of a unlikable bad guy. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. At some point, I was like, you know what? I think I might agree with Magneto.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, I think we should destroy all humans.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just like you listen to his argument. You're like,
He kind
I
of has a
hate
good
I
point.
hate to be that guy, but
Yeah.
but I mean, towards at one point, but that goes into another thing. I love it when a character is like, just when you just despise them, and they're just so evil.
Yeah.
But at some point, they either they start becoming sort of sympathetic, and in some cases even kind of switch sides. Like again, Magneto
Yeah.
at one
Well-
point it was like, well, it's more important that all that all mutants survive. So I guess I'll hook up with the X-Men for a while.
Yeah. And I have another one it's not literary and it's not comic book either. It's okay, there was this TV show, and it's been on for a while now, actually. I think it's been on for like 10 years now. But it's Project Runway. Have you ever watched that show? I kind of, I always say, oh yeah, my wife makes me watch it, but I really do kind of get into it.
Well, I have this thing where I'm straight, and it doesn't really
No,
interest me
but look,
as
okay, okay,
much.
but the first season, all right, and it's a reality show, but there you can still see there's people pulling strings in the back because at the end there were these four contestants, and one of them was, well, he described himself as fat gay Jesus, because he had
Okay.
long hair and kind of a beard, and he was fat and gay.
Okay.
And then there was this one lady, I don't remember their names, but she was really good, and she was like consistently good on the show. And then there was the guy that always made like evening gowns out of everything. Like the challenge would be like, hey, we have to design, theoretically a new uniform for the postal workers. And he made like an evening gown postal worker uniform.
Wow.
And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
we need to make a handbag, and he made an evening gown, and he was awesome, and he should have been the third person in the finale, but there was this fourth lady. She was like an older woman, and I guess the best way you could describe her was she was like the villain of the show. She was kind of a crazy bitch,
Oh. Okay.
and older, and she always made faces at the other contestants, and she was like, "Oh, you young people, man," and watching the show, I hated her guts, because she wasn't really that good at designing, and she was always saying negative things about the other contestants, and always whining and complaining. But at the end, it was fat gay Jesus and the really talented girl, and then the crazy bitch that got through to the finale. And I apologize for using the word bitch, but everybody on the show called her that as well. So I don't know. I can't think of a better way to describe her. But those three made it to the end, and it's because she was that type of person that everybody loved to hate. And when the finale came around, another spoiler, she didn't win. So in the finale, you not only got to see, like, oh, the good guy won, I think it was Fat Gay Jesus won. But then the older lady got to lose, and you were like, yes, justification, So I think in your books, you always have to have that character that always seems to come out ahead and is really annoying and that you love to hate. And I think it makes it a more interesting story if you do.
Yeah, I don't know. I just that's another thing I love. Again, I guess Game of Thrones, where like the sort of in between characters that you're kind of not sure, like where well, you kind of know where their where their passions lie and their allegiances, but it can change at any time, and
Yeah.
that's another thing. That's why I
Yeah.
can't like. Well, actually, I don't know. I haven't finished the most recent Game of Thrones book, but
Oh, okay.
I'm definitely because they like to he likes to throw stuff at you, the little stinger at the end that makes you go what, and you're like, wait, this has to be in the next book, and
Yeah.
then it's not, and
Yeah.
you're just like, but yeah,
Yeah. And there's kind of a mirror to that in like the Japanese stuff, like anime and even like if you watch like a Japanese movie, there's the bad guy kind of comes out at the beginning of the story. He's there and established as the bad guy, but then he takes a turn and kind of joins the good guys, and then he'll either betray the good guys or he'll help them destroy the bad guy. Like in Avatar: The Last Airbender,
yeah,
I hated that character of Zuko. I think it was right.
yeah.
And that's technically. I mean, I know it's sort of anime, but it's mostly American. But
Yeah, the got anime people just let Ben have it. Just
yeah, please don't send me hate mail. Yes, I know it was made on Nickelodeon by like American writers, or at least one American writer, but they were following that formula, and I think that worked out good because it's like you hated him, and as soon as he became a good guy, though, he started failing.
right,
Yeah,
right.
and then, well, I mean, he failed all the time, but he always seemed to be maybe half a step ahead, and he won a couple times. But then once he was a bad guy, or once he went over to being a good guy, you could introduce those try-fail cycles, and he was a much more interesting character then. So,
I agree.
So I think that's the takeaway from this conversation. And also, I mentioned Brian Thomas Schmidt had his the Dinosaur Joke Book just came out, and there's also Michael J. Sullivan was our second guest. He has a science fiction short story called Greener Grass, which is amazing, and you should pick it up and read it. It's only like a dollar or two on Amazon, and it's really good. And let's see, going down our guest list, Rachel Aaron. She has her Legend of Eli Mon Press omnibus, and also Spirit War. Is that the fourth book?
Yep.
The Spirit War. And then coming out in November is going to be Spirit's End.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got them. I got them in the right order. Just look them up. All of these authors, look them up. Through Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whatever you use, and buy all their books. Aliette de Bodard had her omnibus come out too last month, and it was amazing. And it has the short stories on there too. It's really good. So look those up. Support our guests, and tell them that the First Million Words podcast sent you. And leave us comments on our website if you'd like, fmwpodcast.com. If you enjoy the show, leave us some comments also, and maybe even a few stars on iTunes, because those always make us feel good. Follow us at FMW Podcast on Twitter, and we're also on Facebook. And I think that brings us to the end of our show.
Yeah, so give us stars, because it's the only thing that gives us validation.
Yes, the only thing that makes our lives worth living.
Exactly. I mean, no newborn babies or families. No, just stars. What did a complete stranger think of? Complete stranger that I will never know, nor will probably ever meet, thinks of what I've said.
Yeah. So do that, please, and we'll see you guys again next week. I believe we have our Dan Wells interview coming up, so stay tuned for that. Well, don't stay tuned, but I keep going back to radio. I need to stop that. So until next week, I am Benjamin J. Love.
And I'm Guillermo. Please don't kill that character off the list.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of hoping they would go back to Dark Knight.
Well, they should have just had the thing where Alfred turns, looks, and smiles. And you're like, oh, you don't know, but you gotta do.
Black, yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Instead, they're like, no, people aren't going to get it. Screw these stupid people. No, just...
Yeah. I think that should be your motto in life, is screw stupid people.
Exactly.